The man and woman lay on the icy ground, hands reaching out to each other as if on a macabre date. They looked oddly contented, he thought, almost peaceful. Love and death frozen in a fatal embrace. Russell shivered. Corpses did not bother him. He had seen plenty. But the Leningrad winter gnawed into your bones, its never-ending darkness tinged with the damp that drifted in off the Baltic Sea and seeped into the streets. The spotty young militia corporal standing next to him pointed at the two bodies he and his colleagues had dumped by the side of the road. "Like I told you, comrade, all blood and gristle," he said. "A mess." Russell did not reply. In his head, an orchestra growled, a chorus thundered, a hero was forced to confront his nightmares. Always the same thoughts, always that terrible dream. As he stared down at the victims, the cold stung his ears, his lips, the nape of his neck. The young officer, perhaps unnerved by the lack of reaction from this tall, pale stranger whom he had just escorted from the opera house to the scene of the crime, filled the silence. "Dirty old bastard and his whore, I reckon," he said with a hint of satisfaction. He rubbed his pock-marked face. "When a woman is all painted like that." And the dark visions of the funeral rise before as if they were real. Russell shook his head to dispel the music, but Tchaikovsky was not easy to dismiss. To distract himself, to gain some contact with the external world, he turned to the officer and looked him up and down. The boy's uniform was smart enough, though there was a line of grime along the top of his collar. His cheeks were scarred by his acne, his eyes tiny, a little like a pig's. More than 10 years his junior, Russell thought. He looked over the lad's shoulder. 4 or 5 other militia officers loitered, backs to the crumbling 19th century facade of the Finland station, staring at him. They were annoyed by Russell's presence and let it show. "Swarthy bastard. Big nose, too," he heard one of them say to another as he pointed at the body of the man. "A kike, maybe?" The other officer began laughing. Photographs and notes had been taken, passers-by long since questioned. Dinner would be cold by now, but at least beds would be warm, with wives and girlfriends in them. And yet they were still hanging around until this... Well, was he from the militia or not? A dishevelled spectre who wore the boots and trousers of a standard militia uniform underneath a long civilian coat, a grubby sweater, a woolen hat, no indication of rank. How many uniform violations was that?